Story time part 2. So, just a brief summary on, the first story I told you guys when, she called me. She told me my son wasn't breathing. We went to the hospital. That's all I told you guys. But I never really elaborated or told you guys, why she said he wasn't breathing or what they said happened or anything like that. So, at the beginning, I really didn't know what happened to my son or what it was that was going on. But when she called me and said he wasn't breathing, I didn't know what she meant or what anything. That's why I wanted to get inside of the truck with him, the ambulance truck, just to see what was going on and what they had going on. But they wouldn't allow me to do that. So, we get to the hospital, everything. The police called me to the car, asked me questions, asked me anything about my son. And then they turned around and they did the same thing to his dad. They did the same thing to all of us, asking us questions. So when I sat inside the police car, they told me we don't see no bruises, we don't see no death. When we got to the hospital, and after he told us there was no foul play, we asked them what happened to him, what was wrong with him, what was wrong with my baby. And they was just looking at me like they didn't really want to tell me. So I asked them, what's wrong, what happened with the baby? And they was like, they couldn't tell me. And then once we went back inside of the hospital and everything, and the doctors came out, the doctors asked for the mom and the dad. And when they asked for the mom and the dad, we was right there, and they came to us and they pronounced him dead. It was nighttime, 6 something at night. They pronounced him dead, and it just hurted me because it's we had been here all night, and you guys not all day, all night. You guys wouldn't tell us, but I think only the doctor can pronounce the person dead. So all the other workers and everything, they couldn't tell us nothing when we kept asking. And after we had been there all day, all night, and then they finally pronounced him dead after a couple of hours that we had been there, and all our family had got there and everything, they asked us, did we want to, take our last look at him, our last hold, our last kiss. So when we went inside the room, they asked me, did I want to hold him? And I was scared. But I just kissed his feet, kissed his hands, kissed his stomach. Everything I normally do when I see him every day, that's what I did to him. And his dad wanted to hold him, and he held him for the last time. And when he had him in his arms, he did his last breath in his dad's arms. And it scared me. I was like, is he alive? He's breathing? I was just so ready to just believe my baby was still here, he was still alive. And they was just telling us no, that just had to be his last breath. And it just was so different. And I had never experienced nothing like that. After he took his last breath, I was trying to hold it in, but it was just crazy. I was just crying. My mom was crying really bad. They had to put her inside of a room, for cardiac arrest, because she just had went into a panic attack because she just couldn't understand. That was my mom's first grandchild, her first and only grandson. And then what really got me, when I was asking them, what happened to him? What happened? All they said to me was SIDS, sudden infant death. If you don't know what SIDS is sudden infant death. And they always say it's nothing you can do to prevent it. You can't run from it. So it's the baby could be on the back, the baby could be on the stomach, the baby could be in the car seat, the baby could be in the couch, the baby can be wherever they need to be, and the baby could just pass away. And that never really made any sense to me. So I always questioned it, looked it up, asked questions about it, all type of stuff. So it was all type of things I was looking up to try to figure it out, how did this happen? Why did this happen? So, yes, they did say that he passed from sudden infant death, and that's what they told us, and it was it was no foul play. But what I couldn't understand was my baby got his shots on Monday. He passed away on a Friday. Now, don't get me wrong, he wasn't sick, he wasn't throwing up, but he had the normal fever that a baby would have when you get shots. He'll have a fever, it'll go away. He had they tell you get Tylenol and give the kid some Tylenol to terminate it. But he was only cranky due to the shots. So outside of the shots, there was nothing wrong with my baby, and he wasn't sick for no other reason besides when he got the shots from the hospital. But because of what hospital it is and who the doctor was that gave it to him, they don't want to say anything. They don't want to make it seem it was because of that. Because shots on Monday and passing on Friday, and then you want to say SIDS because you all didn't want to blame the doctor's office or say that it was because of the doctor's office or say it was because of the shots. They said SIDS. Well, that's what I believe. I believe that's the only reason they said SIDS, because they didn't want to blame the doctor's office once they seen who was his original pediatrics or where did he go at? You know, what was his formal doctor? Because my son had been to the doctor twice in 1 month. He was born January 6th. So me being the first time mom and not really knowing about that type of stuff, every month I was taking him to the hospital. So after he was born January 6th, so February 6th, March, April, May 6th, I took him. After May 6th, when I took him, they told me, oh, you too early, Mom. He don't have to be here right now. He don't have to come right now. And they still checked him and looked at him. And then they rescheduled him for another appointment. So when they rescheduled him for another appointment, that was when they gave him the shots at the second appointment, not at the first one. And when they gave him the shots at the second appointment, that's when, you know, he started to get the fever or was cranky or didn't really want to be bothered or anything like that. So once he had got the shots and everything, that's when he was cranky, and it was like a on and off fever, little stuff. It wasn't really like nothing. He wasn't sick. He wasn't hurt. He wasn't harmed. It was nothing wrong with my child before he passed away. So when the police was asking us, like, was he sick? Was he cranky? Did he have a attitude? Like, when they asked that, and the lady who he was with, because he was with the daycare, like he was the babysitter, when she told me, oh, I told him he was sick, I asked her, like, how was he sick? Like, sick how? What you call sick? Because if you knew he got his shots on Monday, and we know that kids be cranky when they get their shots, then what are you really saying? Because only thing he needed was Tylenol, and she texted me and asked me, can I bring him Tylenol, because his Tylenol wasn't in the bag. I didn't know that I left it home. Right there by my old shop on 147 and 27, there's a Walgreens right there. Like a little further down on 151st. I went right to the Walgreens. I bought the children's Tylenol, and I took it to her. And he was good that Monday, that Tuesday, that Wednesday, that Thursday, that Friday. So I don't understand. They didn't find no extra medicine in his system. He didn't have no extra food. He wasn't overstuffed. He didn't throw up no food. He didn't do none of that. The whole thing was, when she probably found my child, he was already deceased. He was already dead when she found him. And she just probably don't know how to tell us that or how to say that, but it's not your fault. Like, I'm not blaming you and I'm not judging you based off, you know, how you found him now. If it was hours later, he was cold, he was raw, yeah, I would have been upset, but my baby wasn't cold or hard or nothing like that. So she did not know, honestly. There's a Walgreens right there, like a little further down on 151st. I went right to the Walgreens. I bought the children's Tylenol, and I took it to her. And he was good that Monday, that Tuesday, that Wednesday, that Thursday, that Friday. So I don't understand. They didn't find no extra medicine in his system. He didn't have no extra food. He wasn't overstuffed. He didn't throw up no food. He didn't do none of that. The whole thing was, when she probably found my child, he was already deceased. He was already dead when she found him. And she just probably don't know how to tell us that or how to say that, but it's not your fault. Like, I'm not blaming you and I'm not judging you based off, you know, how you found him now. If it was hours later, he was cold, he was raw, yeah, I would have been upset, but my baby wasn't cold or hard or nothing like that. So she did not know, honestly. And I can be okay and I can live with the fact that she didn't know that my child was deceased, because she's the daycare lady. Like, she watched a lot of kids. So yeah, she's not going to be on one child 24/7, but we're not going to sit here and make the doctors or make the police or make anybody feel comfortable to anything. Because if it was the shots, it was the shots. If I feel like that, I can feel like that, but I'm not finna feel sad. I'm not finna feel embarrassed. I'm not finna feel no way about my child passing away with me not doing anything to him besides loving on him, caring for him, and being there for him in the ways that I was supposed to. And you did, and she did the same thing. But it's like, when they asked her about it, she was like, oh, he was a little sick. But everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But if you were scared, that's all you had to say, ma'am. But we ain't gonna even go there. I ain't gonna even go there, because that's just not the end. That's just like one part of it, by saying like he had SIDS, because they topped it off with he had SIDS. But that's not what his death certificate said. But I'm gonna leave that to another story, part 3.